Welcome back to My Brainwise Coach, part 2 of our conversation around identifying and then mastering our inner characters. Yesterday, on Monday, November 24th, we went through part 1 where we identified what are our inner characters, what does that really mean? And then we went on a little bit of a journey telling some anecdotal stories of those who had seen the power of being able to do this exercise. And today we're going to continue in that discussion and deepen our understanding of what this means. So enjoy part 2 of My Brainwise Coach, identifying and mastering your inner characters. And on average, how many do people typically have? I know averages are not useful, but I think in this case, giving some context, maybe a range is better of where someone might be so they don't end up with maybe a list of 50.
It's not. So let's be really clear. This is not 50. And it's not characters that all of a sudden come out that you don't understand. Sybil. We're talking about those that are identifiable and that you've seen occur on a number of occasions. I don't think I've ever worked with somebody that didn't identify at least 5. If it gets to more than maybe 8, 9, 10, then maybe you're being too granular and look for some things that might go together. But if you've got, so very often somebody will have a character that's very tiny, but only shows up occasionally. I'll confess to one of mine. This character shows up maybe once a decade, and I'll call him the Iceman. And that is, this part of my character has no sympathy, no compassion, wants to be on, don't bug me, blah, 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 blah. And no affect or emotion. I doubt whether you've ever seen that character. No.
Probably a little afraid.
Yeah, people are. I will tell you one of my characters, and that is, and I'll give you a bit of the background, and we can always edit this out if it's too long and not useful. But I may have told you this one, and that is when brief story, I had a Range Rover, and it was in for repair for its 5th time, and for the same issue, and it hadn't been repaired. By that time, I was on first name terms with the service agent, and I said to him, is it going to be fixed this time? And he going, absolutely, sir. I said, good, because if not, when I pick it up, I'm going to drive it through that plate glass window. And he looked at me, said, you look serious, sir. And I said, I am. And the person I was with, who was my mentor at the time, as we were walking away, he said, who was that? What? He goes, that character, I've never seen that in you before. He stopped, he saluted, and he said, good morning, Wing Commander Brutus T. Headstrong.
What a name.
And so when that character gets triggered, when I see things that are around me that are unfair, unjust, or don't just make any logical sense.
Right.
If I walk into a store and you're standing there waiting to be served, and there's 3 store assistants at the other end of the counter, all talking amongst themselves and ignoring me, that character will come roaring out. That's the time when Kathy says, why don't you go and stand outside?
It's interesting because, one, sometimes you have to have that character come out because the sturdiness is necessary to be able to move things forward. It's interesting as you're describing that, and as we've been talking today, I think I've identified 3 that I would probably go with, and I'd be curious, because you've known me a long time now, what others you might think are in existence that I haven't come up with. But 2 relate to what you were just describing, where you have the Wing Commander, but mine, I think, is split into 2 because it shows up differently, where there's the Protector. I don't know what I would name it, but that's the premise of it. And that's, I think, who you saw when we were talking about my husband and the city council. That side of me shows up if somebody my mom's going through, or my sister, or my husband, of course, or someone in his family. If someone is coming after someone that I really care about, or really in general, if I see something unfair, unjust, it's not right, the Protector comes out because I want to ensure that we are all treated fairly, right? We may not like the outcomes, but we should all be treated the same. And then, of course, when it's my very personal family, it even comes out more. And then the other one that is half of that, where you're describing going into the rest of the store and you're seeing people they're not paying attention or whatever, I would call that one the general. And that's the one that I show up with at work. And right now you're being highly inefficient. You're not paying attention. You're supposed to be delivering great customer service, because I'm not trying to protect anybody. I'm trying to get something accomplished. And so that I would probably call the general. And then the other one, which is one that for our Disney fans, I think it was Disney, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Have you seen that movie before, Phil?
I have many years ago.
Oh, I love it. I even like the new one with Johnny Depp in it. But anyways, I was going to call it Willy Wonka, but I don't think that's right. I would call it Violet. Do you remember Violet, the character?
I don't.
So Violet was the one who ate, I think it was a blueberry or ate something within the factory, and it made her blow up like a balloon. She was this big old blueberry that they had to go like juice and get all the blueberry juice out of her. Violet Beauregard, I think is how you pronounce it. That's one of my characters. That's the one that when I just want to do absolutely nothing, and all I want to do is I want to go and eat all of the sweets, all the chocolate, all the ice cream, all the cake, all the cookies, all of it, all the cereal, because I've had a bad day or I'm bored, whatever. That's my emotional kind of, I'm going to go eat everything in sight because I just need to eat away all of my things, and I blow up like a blueberry and I feel sick all the rest of the day. So anyways, those are three I identify right here and now.
And that's a great start. I think there's at least one more.
Okay.
And you are a very gentle teacher. I have experienced that of you teaching me some of the technology. You are kind, smart, thoughtful, patient, never feel like I'm being pushed. You'll work at my pace, not yours. And I think there's part of you that is that incredibly good teacher. There's part of you which is on the professional side. It's not the general. It's the very thoughtful, constructive, creative synthesizer of ideas. So I see at least of those two.
Yeah.
So some people, if they're thinking about their character, may actually be going, yeah, are there any standard characters that we see? And the answer is yes. I often see a judge in there. You should have done that, and it's all the should, could, would, ought to, all those type of words that come out of the judge. So many of us have that character. We have an adult character, the parental character that you wants to direct and go again, pointing in direction. The judge is very evaluative. The parent just says, "Do what I say." And then most of us have some kind of child character in us, which tends to be one of 3 or 4. It can be a scared, fearful child. It can be a bratty child. It can be a happy, playful, humor-driven child. And I've got that happy, playful, humor-driven one, as I believe you do as well.
I think it's the my child character be a mixture of that, but there's also a part of me that will show up. It's the same child character, but maybe it's different in some ways, where it's more insecure, fear-driven. Just some of the things that have happened in my life and I've learned to, obviously, because that's one that doesn't play well in my adult life and needs to stay where it was. But it shows up a lot of times in my marriage when I start to get something will happen or we'll have a disagreement. I can tell that character is coming out because the way I respond is not who I am. And so I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, cool. That needs to go away.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about, this is a long topic. We're just skimming the surface at the moment. But the characters tend to show up in context. And so if you're having 2 glasses of wine on a Friday evening when you've had a busy week, that's when the negative side of some of these characters can show up. And so each of these characters has a worldview of their own. They have their own dreams. They have desires. They have their own strengths. They have their own weaknesses. So if you can identify, and this is what we encourage people to do, I actually draw it in a big circle and say, for each of the characters you can find, then identify what's a general description about them, what's their negativity, when is the time when you've seen them come to the fore and be very applicable, and when have you seen them basically screw up? And then the really useful thing is, in moving into the future, how can you best take this team of players you have in your head and make certain that they come out when is necessary, their strengths come out or they stay back. But the other thing is, sometimes these characters can combine together. So if the general and the protector come together, for example, in your case, I imagine that's not a pretty sight.
No. Right. And I don't really let that happen anymore. When I was younger, probably when I was 8, maybe under 21, I'm sure my mom, because she listens to our podcast. Thank you, Mom. Love you very much. But she will know these characters 1000%. She probably has a few others she'll want to add to the list. But that one, when it's the general and the protector coming together, it's not. That's one that needs to stay in my younger years. Because it was, not pretty. Oh my. The amount, we all grow. It's one day we'll have to talk about it, but the amount that I've grown in my life, and I think everyone has from when we were younger in high school and college, you go through different phases of life, and I am just a different person than I was back then, and I'm sure others can relate to it. So no, the general protector combination, Phil, that's going to stay in 2010.
And so that's when they can come together. They can also be in opposition to each other. And again, I had a lady I was working with for a long while, and she had a character which was very effusive, flirtatious, enjoying life. And she had a character, and Lexi, I think she called her. And then she had another one, which she actually gave a man's name to, Arthur, because Arthur was this very judgmental, shouldn't be spending money, should obey the rules. And she said, and it was a real conflict in our head. And I just, at any point in time, who are you going to give the keys to the car to? You have a choice to make.
Very interesting. I'm sure when Joey listens to that part, he'll go, oh, there's a character that Cole has there too, where let's not spend money. Let's save our coin or save our dollars so that we can do whatever it is. Not judgmental. It's just we have, for both of us, how do we make better financial decisions? But I would put that in with the general, because that's who shows up in that space to say, okay, we have a plan. There's things we need to accomplish. We're going to do it. I'm a very emotionally driven person, except for when the general comes out. That's where emotion goes away, and it's just we're focused strictly on the task at hand.
And we do know, so a lot of this is around the neuroscience. We do know that there's a left brain and a right brain, and they tend to have different characteristics. And I would say in your case, your compassionate, cool, calm, collected self is your right brain, and the general is a very left brain character. So
totally,
we've not gone into a lot of detail on that in the past, but we can. I will add one other thing to it, and I think that this is where the key comes, and that is have fun with it, play with it around, and laugh at yourself when you find that character coming out. Oh, there it is. Now, it's for this character to be out right now, and very often you'll find, no, you got the wrong one.
Exactly. Very good. Phil, I think this has been a really good conversation, and I imagine people are going to want to hear more about this in particular. Maybe we can, and I'm just coming up with this off the cusp, but maybe there's some folks that would volunteer to want to do it live to identify some of their characters, because others are going to relate to this. As they hear it, they're going to go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And so maybe we'll find some folks who we can bring on, and we'll do a part 2 of this in the future where we dive deeper to identify them in real time, as well as now, how are we seeing them show up and how is it helping us? Because I imagine there are so many really cool nuggets along this journey that people are going to go, I really resonate with that part.
Yeah. So. And since this is going to be Thanksgiving week, and this is true wherever you are in the world, is which character do you want to show up?
Exactly. 100%. Because I imagine there's also this, especially with the age of technology, a new character has probably arisen for a lot of people, which is the one that I'll just describe as distracted. Which is I'm on my phone, I'm watching social media, but in this case, during Thanksgiving time, and maybe you don't, and that's okay too, but do you maybe want to put that character aside for a while and show up with the one that wants to connect and nurture relationships? So, very good. Phil, before we end our episode, what is your brain wise or brain unwise moment from the past couple of days? I can go ahead and get us started off. Maybe Please. It'll trigger something for you. And so I had a brainwise moment yesterday where there are several things I was trying to get accomplished. And what I wanted to do in my mind was go ahead and just relax and watch some TV, because it's been a pretty busy week. We had a busy weekend. We had a bunch of stuff going on. And I haven't had a lot of time to just stop and do. I like to just stop and do nothing for a little bit because it allows me to detox, and TV or reading a book, one of the two, it is the only time my brain is fully able to disconnect from all the things that I need to do in life. But yesterday, I knew that if I didn't go and actually get things accomplished, I was going to regret it. So I pushed through, went and got the things that I needed to get accomplished. I even went on a nice walk. I didn't feel like working out, but I went on a nice walk, had a great conversation on the phone while doing that. And at the end, I felt so much better at the end of the day, even though I didn't get to just sit and do nothing and relax, but I knew that if I didn't get these things accomplished, I was going to feel behind. It was going to cause more nervousness or more worry about things in the future because I didn't get them done. And so I'm so glad that I did. I said, you know what, Cole, we're going to do this weekend. We're going to go have some fun and see a comedy show. And that's when you can relax and do nothing. That is my Brainwise moment of the week, is I forced myself to accomplish and be accomplished throughout the day yesterday.
And I have remembered mine, and that was probably 2 days ago, 3 days ago, in one of my other businesses. There's a lot going on. My head, and I was awake for most of the night going around, and I decided, hey, the best thing I can do is write everything down. I spent most of the day before yesterday writing out not only what I thought was going on, but what we should do about it. And I had the best night's sleep last night that I've had for a long while. Brainwise was get it out of your head, get it written down.
I love it. Very good. Great Brainwise moment from the week. And so for our listeners who are listening to our dialogue today, as you walk away and reflect, the questions or the prompts to think about this week is, as we go into Thanksgiving or you go in wherever you might be, if there's something else you're going into this week, what characters do you have? And who do you want to show up as and why? I think are two really interesting questions to begin asking yourself as you go along this journey of identifying your multiple or your different characters that can show up in different situations. And then be very intentional about which ones you're going to have show up and when.
And have fun doing it.
Yes, enjoy yourself because it's a good time. You saw us today. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. We all love to learn about ourselves. So take some time to explore who you are. And with that, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your time with family and friends. And until next time, always stay curious, stay compassionate, and always stay brainwise.